Good morning, grammar students. It is Wednesday, April 15th. It is the Ides of April. You can say Ides for anything, not just March. But we are going to do day 2 of our prepositional phrases notes. I hope exercise 1 went pretty well for you. And we're actually going to start adding a little bit more to our exercises, because I want to make sure you're getting the practice. And I haven't gotten a lot of feedback on whether or not, 10 problems would be too much. So we're going to try doing that, especially because of what we're going to learn today, which is we are going to start diagramming, one of my favorite parts. And you will be in your packet. You had something that looks like this. You're going to use this tonight when you do your homework. So at the end of this video, I'm going to discuss a little bit about your homework assignment for tonight. And yeah, so let's just get started. I want to try to not make my video too long. So we're going to share my screen. And I put the PowerPoint for prepositional phrases. I attached that to the assignment for tonight. And that is going to, like, I didn't chunk it into 2, so you're just going to have to go forward in the presentation until you get to day 2, and that's where we're going to start our notes. So that's where I'm at right now, and that's what you're going to see when I share my screen. All right, let's do this. All right, here we are. So I'm going to get this into present form and let's go. So today you are still taking notes because it is still a PowerPoint presentation where we're taking notes. And if you want to put like diagramming at the top of your page, that you have this as a reference. So if you need to go back, yeah. From now on, day 2 of our notes will always be diagrams. So day 1 is going to be like the concept or the topic, and like it was yesterday. And then day 2 was always going to be how to diagram that topic, because we don't have diagramming for the rest of our book. So that's just going to be like the procedure. That's why I said it's like a very strict 5-day plan. Day 1, regular notes. Day 2, diagramming notes. All right, let's go. So some of you are like, I don't even know what diagramming is. And if you think about what a diagram is in general, like when you use it in class, I'm like, oh, use this plot diagram. It is just a picture or a visual way to look at information. So when we talk about sentence diagramming, we're saying that diagramming is a visual way to look at a sentence to see how all the parts work together. And a sentence diagram is kind of like a clock diagram. It shows you what each individual piece is doing in order for that clock or sentence to function properly. So you do not need to draw this picture, but I just wanted you to have a visual element to understand that, like, it is how the pieces connect and work together, okay? Lots of students get confused by diagramming at first, and then they realize it's actually super, super helpful later on because it helps them organize their information visually. I'm a visual person, so it helps me. A lot of students who are also visual will say, oh yeah, I get it. Once you learn how to do it, it actually is pretty helpful. And for like the 80th time, I'm going to click forward, but if you need to pause or, to write things down, please do that. But when we're diagramming prepositional phrases, and you actually saw that, it's in your book, it showed you, like, these are the notes for prepositional phrases. Here's exercise 1. It gave you that example. We're actually gonna do this right now. And when I say I want you to take notes, I mean I really want you to actually draw what I'm telling you to draw in this, okay? And so to start, the only thing we're diagramming are the prepositional phrases. We are not doing the whole sentence yet. That'll actually be in our next unit. And the shape that we use for a prepositional phrase, it's called a dog leg. Like, imagine like a dog's leg, how it bends forward, like ours bend back, theirs bend forward. We call it a dog leg. And I want you to draw this in your notes, okay? We didn't talk about this yesterday, but I want you to write that the word being modified is on that horizontal line. And then I want you to do a dog leg, like a 45-degree angle. And then I want you to make sure that this is flat out as well, okay? Because the object of the preposition, as we've talked about, is a noun. And moving forward, we're going to find out that nouns always go on horizontal lines. Nouns are, I'm going to do this with my arm. This is vertical. This is horizontal. This is diagonal. they always go on horizontal lines. And so since our object of the preposition, we remember back to yesterday, is going to be a noun, a pronoun, or a proper noun, this line right here needs to be flat, not sort of, it's not just random. It's supposed to be pretty clear. And if you look in the homework for tonight, that shape is the same that's on the screen, and you'll see that this is always a horizontal line. Okay, so we put our preposition like on, to, of, near, by, over. That's going to be on that diagonal line. And then over what? Over the table. Table is going to go in the object spot. Okay? Remember, if you need to stop, pause, because I'm going to keep going. Now, there are sometimes going to be modifiers in between your preposition and your object, and that could be articles and that could be adjectives, and they are written on individual diagonal lines underneath the object of the preposition, and we're going to call those like toenails. Okay, so this is that same picture from the previous slide, but now we have what I showed you, or what these two arrows are showing you. That's where we put modifiers. So like if our preposition, or if our prepositional phrase is over the big red truck, or over the red truck, over is our preposition, truck is our object of the preposition, it's that last noun. That first modifier would be the, and the second one would be red, because you want to go in order that they occur in the sentence as well. So those are modifying that object, which truck, the and red, so they go underneath the word they modify. We're going to do a sentence example. He ate 3 boxes of popcorn with butter during Finding Nemo. The first thing you do, always, 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 no matter what, even though we're starting diagramming, you always, always have to label it first, because it's really difficult to diagram without labeling it, because labeling it tells you where it goes in the sentence, or goes in the diagram. Oh, it moved again. I'm sorry. I'll try to be better about this. So we did our nouns first. We found boxes, we found popcorn, we found butter, and we have Finding Nemo as a proper noun with wings. Then we go through and find any pronouns, or sorry, we'll do modifiers first, excuse me. So which boxes? 3. Is there any word modifying popcorn? No. Any word modifying butter? No. Any word modifying Finding Nemo? No. Then we find our pronouns, he, and then we do our prepositions. So this is where having that list of prepositions is really, really helpful, but this is also why memory, memory, memory sentence, the mouse goes blank, the box or boxes, is really helpful. Also, just memorizing the fact that the word of is always a preposition. It's always a preposition. But you're gonna, the more you do this, the more practice you get, the more you're going to recognize those prepositions without having to use that memory sentence and without having to check your notes. That's why just repetition is kind of like math facts, like learning your times tables, or just doing multiple examples of a math problem. Like that's one of the ways you learn, is just by repetition. Same for grammar. So we found of is a preposition, and so as soon as we find a preposition, we need to put parentheses around them, even though it's misdone, I'm sorry. So of popcorn, of is our preposition. Popcorn ends that preposition because it's a noun, parenthesis. With is a preposition, and then every time we find a double P, we need to put parentheses. And then finally, during is also a preposition. What else does? Finding Nemo. Okay, so we now have 3 prepositional phrases in a row. That can happen. You can have 4, you can have 2, you can have 1. Prepositional phrases, because they're modifiers, you can have as many in a row as you need, as you want. Okay, let's try to diagram this. We need to do our dog's leg. And I want you to kind of pause and see, where do you think, if we're doing of popcorn, because we always go left to right, where is of going to go and where is popcorn going to go? Of, popcorn. Okay. Preposition is always on the diagonal. The noun is always on the horizontal. We have another one, because remember, we're not doing the whole sentence, we're just doing separate prepositional phrases. same thing. With, butter, during, Finding Nemo. Okay? I would write this down. If you didn't write it down, pause and write it down. Let's do another example. My group of rowdy friends and I went to the nearby McDonald's. We always do step 1, which is our nouns. Group, friends, McDonald's. McDonald's is a proper noun because it's capitalized. Then we do any modifiers. Which group? My group. Which friends? Rowdy friends. And then which McDonald's? Nearby McDonald's. Then we're going to look for our prepositions. Oh, sorry, and I always forget pronoun. I don't have the steps in front of me. I apologize. And I is always a pronoun. Okay. Now, prepositions. Of, always a preposition. Then make sure you do parentheses. And one of the ways that I remember to do parentheses, prepositions, if you see, it's a double P, like preposition. Double P, and if we were grading these together in class, super awesome, because every time I say that, I say parentheses, please. Parentheses, please. You use that alliteration, poetry. Parentheses, please, P, P. Double P means you need parentheses. That's your hint. And then we have to. To is not always a preposition. It's like 85% of the time. It can also do something else, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But actually, we'll talk about it next unit. But often it's going to be a preposition. And then you got to take your preposition and then go all the way till you find your noun, McDonald's. Then you put your parentheses, please. Okay, let's diagram. This is our first time we actually are going to have a modifier inside of that prepositional phrase. So the other pieces stay the exact same. Of, I always do the object, like I always do the preposition and then the object, and then I add in the modifiers later, because like I like to go from not just left to right, but top to bottom. That's just me. You'll find a system that works for you, but I feel like finding the front, like finding the bookends is easier, and then you just fill in the middle stuff later. So, of, friends, which friends? Rowdy friends. Okay, next one. We have two modifiers. We have an article and an adjective. Two words in between our preposition and our object. So we have two toenails. To, McDonald's, the, nearby. That's just kind of how I think about it, because to and McDonald's, the preposition and the object are the most important parts of a prepositional phrase. The other stuff is just extra. It's modifiers. It just gives you more information. Again, pause. Make sure you're drawing these, because any grammar is an open note class. So everything I give you is always a resource for you. So please write this down. It goes in your brain more. Okay, so your homework tonight. Oh yeah, we're done with notes, by the way. Sorry. Your homework tonight is exercise 2. Now, in exercise 2, I'm going to get rid of the description here, or not description. I'm going to get rid of the picture here. So pause if you need to finish this page, because I'm actually going to stop sharing. I'm just going to show you my face, because I want to show you stuff in here. Okay, so your homework tonight is exercise 2. Okay. Always read the directions. But exercise 2, you're going to see something that a lot of you might have been confused on in exercise 1. So I'm going back to exercise 1. On the back of exercise 1, you saw this line. It said, all of the underlined words in this exercise are doing the same job. Look at your notes and write what the job is. If you didn't know already, that's the object of the preposition. But exercise 2 is the first time you're getting multiple ones in a row. And this is going to happen from now on. You're going to have a separate part that's called jobs. So this is called your labeling, and this is called your jobs. And a lot of students forget to do this. Starting next chapter, starting next unit, subject and verb, these are each going to be worth 5 points, because jobs are the most important part of grammar. We actually do all of this labeling so that we can understand this part. This is more important. Okay, so we're going to talk about that more next week. but I just wanted to like give you a little preview on that. So don't skip these. This is like the most important part, okay? This is also for a lot of kids what's hard at first. And so kids naturally avoid that because it's difficult. I mean, that makes sense. Oftentimes people avoid things that are difficult for them. But make sure you're not avoiding that. Make sure you're putting effort and time into that because that's going to continue to matter more, okay? So I would like you to do the entire exercise for exercise 2. I want you to do numbers 1 through 10. I want you to do the whole thing, okay? And including those jobs in the back. Then I want you to fill in, I already drew them for you. I want you to fill in the diagrams for numbers 1, 3, 4, and 9. Now, if you would like to do the rest of the diagrams for extra practice, you are absolutely able to, but this is all you're required to do is the diagrams for 1, 3, 4, and 9. Helpful hint, just so you know. What I do, and what a lot of students do, is that every sentence I tell you to diagram, just circle it. So there's a little circle on number 1, there's a circle on number 3, there's a circle on number 4. Don't cheat. And so that's like a good way for you to pay more attention to those sentences so that you remember to diagram them afterward. Because this is separate, you know, it's not like in your book. The last thing I want to let you know is in exercise 2, there are a bunch of ing words. And most of them, actually, it's just the word counting, C-O-U-N-T-I-N-G. A lot of times, and this is every single time I ask students this about this exercise exactly, I say, hey students, what have you been taught ing words are? And most kids say verbs, like swimming, running, laughing. That's fair. What you're gonna find out actually, and when we start talking about this year in grammar, is that ing words, yes, they're verbs, but they're usually verbs that are actually doing something else. So they are not just verbs. This exercise, the word counting, C-O-U-N-T-I-N-G, the word counting, and it's in number 2 at the first time, is actually going to be a noun. And I'm going to explain why here in a moment. So when we are looking at like a sentence like, I like swimming. So you could say he was swimming through the sea. Yeah, that's what he's doing. But when you look at the word swimming in this sentence, am I doing the act of swimming in this sentence? No. And we're going to talk about this more the whole unit, but I just wanted to bring this up. Here, swimming is what I love. It's the idea of swimming. I'm not actually doing any swimming in there. I'm not doing that action. I love swimming, the idea of swimming. And so that's actually what we call a noun. It's a thing. It's a thing you can do. It's a thing you can do. So swimming is actually a noun, which means in here, counting is going to act as a noun. We're going to talk about it a lot more. If what I just shared with you is super confusing, ignore that and just know the word counting in exercise 2, you should label it as a noun, okay? And we're going to come back to this a bunch of times. So if you're confused right now, don't worry about it. Just label counting as a noun and move on, okay? Please don't forget to do parentheses around your prepositional phrases. Remember, of is always a preposition, and that your prepositional phrases need to begin with a preposition and end with an object of the preposition. It needs to end with a noun. The only 2 jobs we have right now are modifier and object of the preposition. And the other thing that students kind of might get confused by, or always seem to get confused by in exercise 1, do you see how there is an underline underneath those words? That underline doesn't mean anything except for the fact that that is one of the words that the book is going to ask you for the job of, okay? So you know what? I'll give you number 1. In number 1, it says, Johnny counts on his fingers in math class. See how class is underlined? Class is underlined. The first one that they're asking you the job for is that word, class. So the underline is only telling you that's one of the words you're going to have to tell me the job of on the back side, okay? Lastly, we're going to talk about this a lot more, but if you're a student who, when you corrected exercise 1, you're curious kind of like how well you did, I'm going to briefly just tell you that hold on, oh, I forgot I wanted to stop sharing my screen forever ago. Oh, I did, okay. That we are going to be doing a very simple way to calculate our score, and I'm going to share this with you, but basically it is a way for you to work on your percentages. And so let's say you got 80 out of 100 points, let's say. That is your percent, and that's actually what you're going to be sharing with me tomorrow when you correct exercise 2, okay? So I just want to like lay it out there and mention it to you that you're going to start sharing with me as your exit ticket your score for exercise 2, okay? Because then I can kind of get a gauge of how you're doing, because if you get like a 40%, that means you got more than half of them wrong, which means I should probably check in with you and see what I can do to support you, okay? We're going to talk about that more tomorrow in tomorrow's video, because I don't want to overwhelm you with too much, and I want to make sure my video is not too long. So your homework tonight, again, exercise 2. Label all of them and do the jobs. Only diagram 1, 3, 4, and 9. Finally, the word counting, C-O-U-N-T-I-N-G, is a noun. And we're going to talk about more why it's a noun later, but right now just know that's a noun, okay? As always, if you have questions, send me a message. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in language arts. Bye.